Sorry, I
came
forgot
on
to
the
record.
came on the boat and had zero experience and basically shot her first fish on the trip,
Yeah.
and from the surface. So it's a great place to come along and have fun.
Yeah. Great.
I think Tim was her buddy a bit last year.
Yeah, I shot my first trout with Jess as my buddy. We had a bit of teamwork on one of the trout that almost evaded us, but we finally got to it.
Yeah, nice.
Love it. Love it.
Tim, tell Beth a little bit about what your experience has been on these trips. Describe maybe the boat for a start.
The boat's epic. Like, are we back on Condor again? Is that the plan?
Yep.
Yeah, epic. Condor, the vessel's incredibly well set up for these kind of trips, in my opinion. I couldn't think of a better boat to do it in. One, you're sailing, which is amazing. Like, I think there's no better feeling than cruising at 20 knots on a 100-foot vessel out to a spearfishing destination. That's pretty cool. But the living space with the 24 odd people on board, like, it never felt cramped. Even with the weather as bad as it was, I think, a lot of people were sheltering down below deck quite a bit, but I never felt like it was too bad, to be honest. And the deck space on top's incredible too. Like, it's a sick boat. Like, it's really cool.
Evan, a sturdy boat.
While we're talking about sailing, can you talk to us all about what we want to wear in terms of sun and wind and rain and cold protection on the boat? Because last year we did have some sort of pretty hectic conditions and people were getting a little bit cold, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's kind of, I guess, the best of both worlds. Like, on the way out, it's pretty windy. It can be pretty cold. You get a lot of spray. So I think a good weatherproof, waterproof jacket would be ideal, specifically for when you're sailing. Often the boat will literally have its handrails under the water. So you're sitting on the high side, but often with the wind, you're getting a lot of spray in the face. So it's really, I think, advised to wear a nice, warm, dry rain jacket. But then the flip side of that is often when you get out to the outer reef, it can be quite sheltered, and hopefully we're going to have some really good weather and the sun can come out, and then you're at risk of getting kind of sunburn as well. So you need to kind of be prepared for both scenarios. A nice dry jacket plus a good hat, some sunnies, plenty of sunscreen.
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll need to bring gear wise.
The other thing, just to mention, is that on the sail out, you're often sitting on the edge with short pants, and your short pants pull up higher. So most people get like roasted on their top thighs on that first trip out. I've actually just bought myself some like long, sun rated pants like this. Yeah,
yoga pants,
not
pants,
but whatever. Man pants. But yeah, just something like, I mean, even you can even wear your wetsuit bottoms, because like it depends on the weather. But people get burnt, like people get roasted out even on the sail.
Eckart is probably the most sun smart man on the planet too. So he's advice and solid.
Say that. Yeah, there's kind of like if you imagine like 2 points of a scale, Evan's sort of giving you some good advice there, and then at the other end of that spectrum, you've got Eckart, who looks like, I don't know, it's like there's Armageddon and an old folks home have showed up to do like a fashion parade. And that is sort of somewhere what Eckart looks like. So you'll see what I mean.
You will.
Nighttime
with the hat.
Nighttime in the sail. So inside the vessel, Beth, it's pretty much one big massive open chamber, and there's sort of these bunks stacked up, or these bunk style beds stacked into the sides of the boat. And there's about 15 or 16 people all sleeping in that area together. So it's kind of like if you've ever stayed in a hostel, very similar. Like, a lot of people. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of snoring, particularly after the big days diving. So if you've got earplugs, 100% bring them. Do not neglect earplugs. So a warm jacket, earplugs. I sound like my parents right now. I'm just like,
Or if you dive really hard, you'll be so tired, you'll be asleep before everybody else.
Yeah.
Let's go to equipment. Beth, what equipment have you actually got?
I'm going to hire some equipment from Eckart. because I don't have anything. I've just got a surfer's wetty, so I think I'll buy a wetsuit before I come up.
Yep.
And other than that, everything's hired.
The Adreno Ascension suits, I think, are pretty decent in a woman's cut.
Yeah.
I'll write that down.
Girls have problems finding good suits that fit depending on their body shapes and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
blokes have trouble. Like if you're a skinny, long sort of guy, some of those wetsuits can be quite difficult to get as well.
What's it called? Adreno
Ascension.
Ascension.
It's a 3 mil suit, super warm. You don't need to put lube in it to put it on, because a lot of the open cell suits require you to do that. And then, you know, when it's cold and wet in the morning, like adding like a cold bottle of lube with some seawater, it's pretty uninspiring. With that Adreno Ascension, it's kind of got this nice lining on it, and it's a more delicate experience.
Do you know anyone that stocks them in Victoria?
Yeah, Adreno.
Adreno
in Cheltenham.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. And if they might have a better recommendation for you too, because you might talk to a girl Spearo in there and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's probably Shrek told you about that. Don't do that. But I've honestly seen some of my female friends that spear in those suits, and they quite like them. I wear one myself.
Cool.
Yeah,
he likes wearing girls' clothes.
Yeah. Does that pay that kick out? That's not good enough. I had a good setup and everything. You got to do. Come on, bro. Anyway, Eckart, you were going to talk a bit more about equipment and stuff. You're obviously going to lend Beth equipment. Tim, are you set for gear this year? What are you bringing after 2 years doing the trip?
I'm probably going to bring copy paste of what I brought last year. I got a 120 Rob Allen Tuna Pro. I have been online window shopping some timber spear guns, but I kind of do that in my spare time regardless of trips coming up anyway. 120 Rob Allen Tuna Pro. I've got a new 3 mil wetsuit that I got off Eckart not long ago, which I used in Asia, and Eckart, that was solid recommendation, man. That was perfect for Bali.
Awesome.
And just packing light, like a couple of spare rubbers, a spare shaft, and all my normal like mask, snorkel fins. Yeah, but just traveling light. Like that's one thing about the boat is there's not a lot of space on the boat. Like you take what you need and nothing else. There's no real room to store much, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like we sort of said before, Beth. It is very similar in some ways to a backpacking experience. This is kind of like the most cost-effective way to do a spearfishing charter. But I guess, sailing is a delightful experience, but it is a sort of a closer environment. So packing smart is pretty essential for sure. Julian, welcome, buddy. Are you over in Europe at the moment still? You're on mute. You're on mute. Technology, come on, buddy.
Hey guys.
Hey, how are
you?
Hey,
mate.
Good seeing you, everyone. I'm really sorry I haven't picked up the meeting earlier. I forgot about it. Probably I'm a little bit disappointed with Romania going out of Euro 24. So yeah.
Oh, sorry, man.
Nah, it's all right. I'm not a footballer. Anyways, good seeing everyone. And thank you for reminding me about the link, about the meeting.
Yeah, I just quickly sent out a quick email just to remind everybody.
Oh, okay. We should probably put it in the WhatsApp group too.
Oh yeah.
Ryan, are you all over that? Ryan's got it. While
I'll do it now.
runs us through gear.
Yeah, okay. So gear-wise, look, Tim, you've done this before, but ideally, like a 1.1 should be the shortest spear gun. 120 is kind of like an ideal length. You don't need it's not a good idea to bring along a gun that you haven't used at all. Bring along a spear gun that you're comfortable and familiar with. That you can load, that you know how it works, basically the process of it. Because if you bring along like a fancy like roller, like inverted roller spear gun, and it takes you 20 minutes to figure out how to load the thing, it's probably not going to work as well as just a simple spear gun that you're comfortable and familiar with. So in terms of equipment that you want to bring like your spear gun, maybe a spare shaft. But just for you to know, if you bring a spare shaft for your spear gun, there's going to be amongst us, we're all taking 1.1, 1.2 meter spear guns. So there'll be a spare shaft around. So I'd almost say it's not that necessary. The other thing is if you bring a shaft along, it's going to rust. There's a lot of salt in the air, obviously. And so it's if you bring it, even if it's new and you don't use it, it's going to look like a used shaft by the end of the trip. Just being out in the weather. So spear gun, float line. We're looking at like a 20 to a 30 meter float line. If you're not that experienced, 20 meter float line. If you are more experienced and you're a bit more comfortable with depth, then something a little bit longer, like a 30 meter float line float. And then obviously at least I'd say a 3mm 2-piece wetsuit that's got an integrated hood. You can get away with the 1-piece, but every time somebody has, they end up getting cold towards the end of the dive session and like struggle a little bit. So it's, if you're making the effort to come along on the trip, rather have the right gear. And if you know that you run colder, make sure that you've got a bit of a warmer wetsuit for your trip. But the water is on average, I think 23 to 24, 25 degrees max. So it's nice and warm. Warm for us in Victoria, maybe not for someone
warm
up north. But for us here in Victoria, that sounds like tropical stuff. Well, basically it is.
It is.
Isaac, should I chat about how we're going to run the dive at all?
Well, maybe Beth and Tim probably just need a bit of revision about what it's like not to be depressed with cloud cover and cold temperatures all day. And it can be quite a harsh and jarring experience. You get that sort of culture shock when it's the sun's out and people are smiling and, the Victorian government aren't tapping you on the shoulder asking you where your COVID mask is. So it could be really weird for you guys, but you're going to enjoy it, I'm telling you.
You get used to it.
Yeah, prepare for the vertigo of the blue water visibility.
Yeah, true. And Spanish mackerel are open, and we did have a couple taken last year. They're an amazing fish, and it's definitely on my hit list for this year. I would love it to come across it, and it makes wicked sashimi. Beth, you like seafood?
I do.
All right, I know Julian does. I know Tim does. We make some wicked, like you see ceviche, carpaccio, sashimi. Like, it goes off. So we do all right with seafood for sure. Chris, have you had crispy skin coral trout before, Beth?
No.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best.
Yeah.
I might just add quickly. Yes. What I'll do is I'll send a video to the WhatsApp just explaining maybe some of like the gear stuff, and explaining how we're going to operate. So on the boat when we dive, we're going to have. Shrek, are you happy for me to just quickly cover how we're going to run it?
Yes, love it.
So how we're going to run is with the group, we're going to split the whole group in half. Half the group will stay on the main tender, resting. The other half will be in the water diving for about 3 hours, come out, and then we'll rotate. So in the morning, we'll have 2 3-hour sessions, break for a little bit of a lunchtime for us, and then back out for like another 1.5 to 2-hour sessions on each of you. Now, the thing is, we're going to be running this regardless. So if you need to have a time, like I promise you, I think Ryan's going to touch on just hydration, fatigue stuff, which is super important. But if you need to sit out for anything, you can sit. This is we're there to facilitate you guys having fun, basically. But what's going to happen is you'll pair up with a buddy, and your spear guns, your float lines are going to be tethered to a single float. So initially, you have to get used to working together as a team because most people don't dive like a proper team. So you probably have to unlearn some unhelpful techniques. And Beth, in your case, the great thing is you're not having to unlearn any bad habits. You're actually just picking up good habits. So, but you'll be working together as a team and actually working together. So one person will dive down. You can watch them as they come up. You can either, if they've shot a fish, you can help them with that fish. If it needs a second shot, you can place a shot because you're going to be right there and you'll be tethered to the same float. This technique obviously works really well when you choose to work together. If you choose to swim in opposite directions, it can be difficult.
Yeah.
So that's normally where that thing of like getting to know each other and getting to work together as a team is going to be really important.
One thing we're going to do each day is we will have a whiteboard up, and it will have which sessions you're diving, who you're diving with, and who your instructor guide will be for each session. And you'll see that sort of dinner time the day before you dive, so you can sort of make some plans. And if you're feeling fatigued, or you'd like to swap out, or you have any issues, you can talk to Evan, Ryan, Eckart, or me, and we will talk with each other, and we'll make any arrangements we need to in order to help everyone to have a frothy, wicked time, because that's what we're all going for.
Maybe Ryan, if you want to touch on the hydration. And that
absolutely. Stuff. Yeah, I think we just wanted to touch on a few issues we had last year with some people getting seasick. This is definitely worst case scenario if you can, and I think being proactive with any seasick medication or tablets if you are prone to that, or even as a preventative, because it's hard to get back. It's incredibly stable boat, so a lot of people at times were thinking, how are we going to go sleeping on a boat in the middle of the ocean and getting seasick? It's actually remarkably easy, and it doesn't move around a great deal. It's a very heavy boat, but if you are that way inclined, I think preventative things like quells, or if, you know, a lot of people are on sort of compound medication from pharmacies these days if they get severely seasick, but being on top of that, I think to try and get the best out of your experience, not to let you catch up. I think especially on the first day and night, and then after that, you generally get quite used to the rocking motion and bits and pieces, and you're pretty good unless you're very sensitive to it. But I think if you're not, I mean, we'll probably have some with us, but if you know that you get seasick, be really proactive with that.
Let's do it. Let's just quickly, Ryan, just quickly go around. Who gets seasick? Tim, you don't get seasick, do you? Or you do a little bit, don't you?
Oh, I get seasick about 20% of the time on boats, and on that pretty rough sail back on the last day of the last retreat, I was pretty green and doing a bit of burling on the way back.
Mate, I've got that burned into my memory. You in the back right-hand corner of the boat.
Yeah. It can be as simple as going downstairs. You know, you need to go for a pee downstairs, and that just sets you off. You know what I mean? If you,
My sickness is, I can't pin it. I can be seasick on a dead flat calm day and then be out in the roughest water ever and be fine. And I've just worked out it's about 20% of the time I'm on a boat.
Probably because you've got that majestic mustache, you're going to avoid. Yeah, Beth, you unfortunately don't have a mustache. Are you going to be okay?
I'll get some medication just in case. We'll see how it goes.
Have you spent much
Gravel calm works a treat.
Yeah, but I usually pop some quells just in case.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do.
Helps you sleep.
I was going to say to you too, Beth, because you haven't done a course, this isn't a sales pitch. There's nothing in this for me. But if you do have a chance and an opportunity, Ryan and Eckart run courses fairly often down there. If you do have a chance to do one before you go, I would tell you, like, you will get a hell of a lot more out of the trip having done a course beforehand.
Yeah.
Having said that, you don't have to do it. We're still going to look after you and help you learn either way. But if you did want to up it and get more out of it, I would 100%.
It would be helpful. Yeah.
Maybe the other thing, just to add to that, Isaac, is you know, for a lot of us, to get the most out of a trip like this, we have to like maintain at least a semblance of fitness. And Isaac has sent out that really great like training program. So it's a great place to get on board and just get some.
It's free too.
Isaac, you want to maybe just give that little punt and tell the guys about it.
I will. I'll come back to it. I just want to go quickly around the other fellas about seasickness. Yulian, do you get seasick? You're muted. I can't hear you. Scotty, do you get seasick? Nah. Are you unmuted yet, Yulian? No. Kieran, do you get seasick?
Yeah.
You do?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
No, I won't know for sure. I've been to some other sailing and sleeping on boats overnight, and I haven't had any issues.
Okay. All right. If you are at all unsure, bring something. But there'll be stuff going around anyway. It's always good to experiment with medication when you're out doing a strange trip with people you don't know.
Yeah.
That was sarcasm. Kieran, for you, mate, do you get seasick?
No, I was pretty sweet on the last trip. Yeah, but it's a bit hit and miss.
Yeah.
I don't mind a spew in the water actually. You know, I get diving seasickness occasionally. But yeah, we get some pretty big swells and stuff, and sometimes I just can't cope with it. So yeah, it's all good though.
You'll be a good buddy, mate, if you're spewing in the water.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work like that. I've figured it out. They just it's generally too many beers that does the trick.
Tasmanian species, they don't like it. Kieran, while I've got you there, tell these guys quickly about Spear Ready, because you're doing it.
Yep. So I guess it's just a way to build up a bit of fitness and some breath hold sort of time, I guess. Yeah, CO2 tolerance, if you're sort of familiar with that kind of thing. But yeah, it's got like some cardio in it. It's pretty basic cardio. It's just intermittent training? Is that what you call it?
Training.
Interval training, yep. So it's pretty short and sweet in that regard. It's got some strength training. It's got some really odd sort of stretches and poses that you do, but yeah, that's good fun on trying to use a ball and bits and pieces. But it's helped me quite a bit, I think. And it's like, this is my second round. I would say that I haven't been as methodical with my eating this time, but I'm still seeing some changes. Sort of a little bit of weight loss with a little bit of strength gain. Yeah, but it's definitely helping with my CO2 tolerance mainly, is what I've found in breath hold, which is good.
Guys, this is Spear Ready. You've all got actual free access as part of being on the Whitsundays Sail and Spear Charter. So if you do want to jump in on it, just hit me up and I'll get you in there. But this is it. That image actually was of one of the guys that came on last year's trip on the trip. So, Beth, if you're looking at that picture there, it gives you an idea of some of the sort of dive conditions that we have. Some of them were these really cool drop-offs and some amazing opportunities. Like Eckart shot a real nice Spanish off a drop-off like that. I think Ryan ended up shooting a nice fish too of some sort of similar terrain. But the point is, it's a 50-day guided training plan. We've got about a month to this trip. If you did want to jump in, you'd be jumping in late, but you'd still probably get some benefit out of it. And it's pretty much just delivered by email. But then there's a weekly Zoom call as well where you can kind of ask questions and stay motivated with other people that are doing it too. Scotty, why haven't I seen you in Spear Ready, mate?
Busted.
Oh, you're still muted, mate. What are you doing? Is this technology too hard for you, buddy?
Still muted.
I just asked to unmute. If you hit spacebar, it should work. There you go. Good gotcha, mate. Look at that.
I'm doing this on my phone. I only just got the message through WhatsApp saying this was on. Totally forgot all about it.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, what were you asking me, mate?
How come you're not on Spear Ready? I thought you'd be into that.
What Spear? Is that the
It's a free fitness program that you got as part of signing up for this thing. I sent you an invite. It's all good.
Try to do it when I read those things, mate.
You let me down again, Scott. No, it's all good, bro. It's going to be good to have you on this trip. For those that don't know him, Scotty is an absolute character. Him and Julian both come and did courses with me over on Stratty. It's going to be good to have you guys on this trip. So, while we're here, Ryan, you just covered off seasickness. What was next on your agenda, buddy?
Well, I just want to talk about hydration, which is, I think, other than safety, probably one of the most important things for this trip that we've found to keep people diving day in, day out and recovering. The amount of time, potentially 5 to 7 hours in the water, us maybe 10 hours in the water, we're talking about a lot of fluid getting lost and a lot that we need to consume. And water definitely is not covering it. Electrolytes is definitely the way to go, and more the better as far as I'm concerned. We almost couldn't keep enough electrolytes and water and stuff like that down on the last trips, but also for recovery, for backing up diving day after day, it's sort of essential. And I know I didn't suffer cramping and all that sort of stuff from, get your magnesium in you, a bit of zinc and all that type of stuff definitely can't hurt. But yeah, Aqualite, a good, Hydrolyte, any of that sort of stuff, tablets, powders, whatever you've got there.
This one here, guys, it's a these are a Western Australian company. It's Aussie made stuff, and if you use a Noob Spearo code, you get 10% off as well. But I often get this small mixed carton, which is like you get 50 of these sachets in those 3 different flavors, $64. I think you get, so 10% off is like $6 off. I think it pays for shipping or something like that. If you can take, you won't need 50 on the trip, but I would say if you brought 10 in your toiletries bag, that will serve you really well. And it's handy having a box there for any time you're heading out, particularly on extended or multi-day dive trips. Like, yeah. But anyway, Ryan, I interrupted you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was just more on that point there that definitely. I mean, there'll be a lot going around. I mean, we plug this every single trip, and we have a lot on ourselves. But as well, if you can just make sure you keep that hydration up as much as possible, and just when you think you've had enough, go again. And definitely before going to bed, we were very proactive of just getting some hydration in as well. It just makes the trip a lot better for you when you recover a bit better, you sleep a bit better, and you're not suffering the hydration issues that you can do, especially being exposed to all the elements out there, being in the water, on the water, sun, all that type of stuff as well. It's one of those things that we find that, if you really just be hypersensitive to making sure you're on top of that, then it really just, we found it helps a lot with the trip and stuff like that. So just getting the best version of yourself out there is what we're all trying to do. So we'll be reminding you, don't worry.
So for those that joined the call late, Ryan and Eckart work hand in glove running salt sessions freediving courses in the Melbourne, Victoria area. Evan is an instructor from Sydney. The 4 of us are pretty much your instructor guide team. We will be joined by Blaze, who's another instructor who has a camera. So essentially 2 of you will be in the water with 1 guide anytime you're in the water. So it's pretty cool for learning, and all of these guys are going to be amazing for tapping into for feedback. Ryan, actually, all 4 of us, now all of us have done a fair amount of teaching, and one thing that comes through loud and clear, even with what Ryan was talking about, is like sort of being gentle on yourself. If you flog yourself on day 1 from equalizing too hard, having high expectations about how deep you're going to dive or how big a fish you're going to shoot, you're not going to make the most of the trip. You're going to go into it with anxiety and a bit of nerves. Like, honestly, all of us have got a pretty frothy, like low expectation vibe. And then what we find is if we can just work our way into the trip gradually, you just start shooting fish, and you'll have more fun because you'll be relaxed. And we're going away on holiday. Like, it's meant to be fun. You know what I mean? So don't load yourself up with pressure. There are going to be some cool opportunities, and you're going to make the most of them if you're relaxed and chill. And all of us will be like, we're going to do hopefully a breathing workshop on board and just get everyone sort of just warmed up and in a good mindset before we jump in the water. And there's a fair bit going on day 1. We normally have a lot of teething issues. Day 2, the machine starts to kick in and everyone's starting to work well together because there's a lot of moving parts, and you guys will see, but we're going to do our best to try and communicate really clearly. And if we all go into it with that sort of like chill vibe about, not having too high expectations on ourselves, I think we're going to have fun. So
guaranteed fun. Guaranteed.
Questions, guys. I know we've covered a lot of information here. If you have any follow-up stuff, the WhatsApp group is going to be magic for this. You're welcome to email me, shrek@noobspearo.com. I can send you a link to the hydration thing or the Spear Ready program. Eckart's going to put a video up in the WhatsApp group about gear. Evan and Ryan are probably going to chuck in more tips and info as they sort of But for right now, did you guys have trips about anything with regards to admin, like in terms of logistics, like where to stay? Has everyone booked flights and accommodation?
Question for you, Shrek.
Yep, far away.
I was just wondering, mate, what time we actually set and sail that morning?
Eckart, did we write this all down?
Generally after breakfast.
So normally we meet at the marina at like 8 a.m.
8.
So it's not advisable, obviously, and we've said that it's not advisable to fly on the day we're sailing out because you're not going to make it. You want to get there the day before, sleep over. There's there's quite a few backpackers you can stay in, which is pretty cheap, like, you know, $30-40 a night, maybe $50 a night. So we normally get together about 8 a.m. And then there's a little bit of like faffing around while we wait, because depending on the tide, they might have to run the little tenders with everybody to the main boat, which will be out to the harbor. If the tide's full enough, the boat will be there and the loading was a lot easier. But generally, we try and get together at the marina at about 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, cool.
And then it's pretty much a sail straight out. Sometimes they stop in the islands for a meal or a stop. And then
we stopped on the first trip, but we realized it's actually better to just hoof it straight to the reef and rather wake up on the reef. So the first sail is a decent, like if you've never sailed before, like this, coming on these trips, this is the first time I've ever sailed, and for a lot of people it was their first time. I freaked out on it. Like it was, I mean, the boats that we're on, this thing is, at one stage it was the fastest boat in the world in its class. Like it is the sailing machine, like to have a boat this big just move. So it's pretty epic.
Yeah. And the boat's sort of right up on its side like this, Scotty, and we're all sitting up like that on this edge, and the waves coming over, the sail's full of air, of wind, and you're just moving. It's
dodging whales.
Yeah, it's quiet and it's just cool. And it could be like a 5 or 6 hour sail in one go. And you think about trying to move around a boat that's up on its side like that. So it's a little bit challenging, but it's really cool. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of so far removed from our everyday, like, get in our car, go to work lives. It's actually really, really cool and special.
I just put the Wikipedia page to Condor in the group, in the chat, if anyone wants to have a look. It's a pretty famous boat.
Yeah. No, it's great. Like honestly, and I think Shrek touched on something, you know, a trip like this for all of us, you know, we come from like such a hustle and bustle life. Your phones are pinging and it's like work and, you know, family, all this other kind of stuff. Like when we get in this boat, it just everything simplifies, right? There's no signal. Like you don't have to worry about your cell phone. You don't have to worry about work and family. Like this is just about the bunch of us getting together, having a bit of fun, and enjoying nature. Like you really, I don't know, there's something unique about this trip in that where it's like there's no cell phone reception. It's quiet. You're being powered by the wind. Like it's good.
Yeah,
it's funny you say that, Eckart. Just touching on that, it's funny how sort of after day one, people start to come into their own where they're not based on technology anymore. No one's on their phone, and people actually have to talk to each other. And it's surprisingly how good some of the conversations are, because you end up getting to know all these people on the boat, and you go back to old school where you actually get to know people by looking to them face to face, and you make some pretty great connections pretty quickly. It's awesome.
Like, you get an awkward silence. All my conversation skills have perished, and I'm looking down at my Gmail app, and my phone doesn't.
They get better. They get better as the trip goes on.
Like Ryan, can I add a little bit of personal experience to what Ryan just said then? And for me, the last trip set off the biggest trajectory in anything I've ever done in my life. The last 12 months for me has been the greatest improving of my freediving and spearfishing of any activity that I've ever had. I've just come between now, the last trip and now, I'm just about to finish my freedive instructor's course. That's like how big of a progression it's been. Like, it's that good of a trip though. It planted that seed, and it created these networks with Ryan and Eckart. I've done 3 retreats with those guys now, and it's set me on this course that is the best thing that I've ever done in my life. It's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Maybe just quickly, does anybody else have any questions?
How many other people are coming? So there's 9 of us in this chat?
Yeah, there's 21 of us total.
Okay.
No, sorry, 20 of us total. 20.
I'm going to be driving up from Bundy.
Yep.
I did the logistics thinking, and it's actually going to take me longer to fly up, so I'm going to drive up the day before. But just wondering if anybody's on the way, if they want to jump in, but probably not.
Yeah, probably drop that in the WhatsApp chat.
Yeah.
There might be.
Yeah.
We we might end up utilizing your services, Scotty. Are you bringing up a ute or?
Yeah.
Because last year what we did, there's a shop sort of 10 minutes drive from the marina called Fishy. And what we do at the end is we take all our fish there and get it vacuum packed. And that way
so good.
people can take their own like cooler box home of fillets that are vacuum packed in their baggage. And
my ute's got a vacuum sealer in it and a fridge, mate. So
nice.
Nice.
Well, you can do full 300 kilos for us. And
Did you like my Spanish, mate? Did you see that?
I did. That was a beautiful fish.
Oh, dude, insane.
Okay.
So good.
Kieran, you're a veteran. You've done this trip before now. Did you have any questions or advice for these guys? Just quickly.
Just do what you can. Like if you can only do it on the cheap, do it on the cheap. Don't feel like you need the biggest and the best gear. I did it last minute last time. Borrowed some gear from various people, and if you reach out, people have got stuff that they can lend and whatever else.
You had the PVC pipe, didn't you, Kieran?
Sorry.
You had the PVC pipe last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got it. I can't sell it, believe it or not. Nobody wants it. But, I've actually upgraded because I sort of planned to do a bit more. So I actually did buy a sports tube, just the Series 2 one. But just do what you can and have a great time. Like I think people were just mucking around in the shallows last time, producing really, really good fish. So don't feel like you need to dive really deep. Like people were pulling out. I think Craig got a ripper
Mangrove
blue
Jack.
bone.
The Mangrove Jack, yeah.
And the
So
Mangrove
jealous.
Jack was the other one. Yeah, that was like in 2 meters of water. So, and I don't. Yeah, some people only had like a 900 sort of just light setup, and that they were just plugging fish left, right, and center. Like just do what you can. Really have a good time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Last year we ran some sort of friendly comps on the boat. We're going to do the same again this year. One of the ones that was popular from last year was the Tusky King Award. So if you shoot the best Tusky of the day, you get to be first in line at dinner. And there's often a mystery prize because we try and have a get together at a local sort of pub restaurant on the last night when we come back in. And then everyone sort of stays the night in accommodation and then generally heads off the next day. You don't have to do it, but it's a cool sort of part of it. We just sort of, do a bit of an informal debrief together and hang out. And Eckart and I normally supply a few prizes for some of the cool stuff we've noticed on the trip. One of the ones I wanted to introduce this year that we could do on board, maybe on our last night, is called Mystery Sashimi. And the idea is there are like there's 20 people, 20 of us on board, right? Like not the pro sail crew, just us. So there'll be 20 pieces of sashimi on this board, but unfortunately the 20th piece is an eyeball, and you can eat it earlier if you want. But the idea is like you have to give someone a genuine and specific compliment and one actionable bit of feedback for them to improve as a Spiro or buddy or whatever, yeah? And then so, it might start off with me saying something to Eckart, something kind about him, and then I give him a bit of a feedback. And then I get to choose one bit of, sashimi. And obviously the last person to choose is possibly going to have to eat that eyeball. So I thought we could do that this year. That might be fun. If you guys have any more ideas for comps, so I'm all ears. Probably going to have a best Spanish and a best Husky of the trip.
Got one for you, mate. It's Mac or Mac. Like I feel like that shark mackerel last time went down as good as what the Spanish did off the barbie. That was
I know. It went down
That was so good.
It was a big surprise, I think. So that might be enough.
I'm shooting them this year.
Yeah. I'll taste it.
Who shot it last year? And then we were all like, "Oh no!" And then
I think it was Sam.
It was Adam. I'm pretty sure.
Was it Adam?
No,
Adam
was
was Adam.
Adam. Yes, it was Adam.
Sam chopped his up for Burley, and nothing
That's
came
right.
Yes. And then he was bleak that he cut it up after we ate that other one. Oh, classic.
All good, guys. Again, any further questions, you're welcome to email me or Eckart or put it in the WhatsApp group chat. We will get to that as soon as we can. And sometimes if you're thinking that question, then everyone else wants to ask the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Just quickly, I'll just add, just like logistic wise, if you're flying up that day before, there's normally like a little bus that can take you to Main Airlie Beach, which is, you can buy like a return ticket on that bus for, I don't know, what's it, like 40 bucks or something? Yeah, it's not much. So that's just like logistics when you land at the airport. So you don't have to like getting a taxi would be expensive, but there's normally a bus there. You might have to wait a bit, obviously, because the bus waits for, not to be full, but like it'll wait for enough people. And then obviously that night when we come back in, or the afternoon, again, don't book your flights for that night. I think we've said this again. I just want to reiterate, rather stay that night, have a good night's sleep, and then fly out the next day. Always best.
Always.
Because, well, the other thing I'd say as well is, you know, we are on a boat. We say we'll get in at a certain time, but we might be, you know, the wind might, for some funny reason, might not be there, hopefully this year. So that trip out might take a little bit longer or back.
These are some photos from last year, guys, just so you get some ideas. These are some of the different species that were taken, and there's Sam with one of his Spanish. I'll get down to some water photos because we had photographer on board, Blaze, who's also going to be there this year. That's inside the Condor, so you can sort of see some of the sleeping quarters there behind him. Oh, look at that! Who's that handsome girl? That's Tim. And we had pretty like rough conditions in terms of like really hectic wind, but where we were at anchor, it was still pretty nice. And then. Look at how wrecked everyone looks after.
Oh, you sleep well.
Like, do we have the same crew or similar crew? Like any of the same guys coming back on this boat?
Well, we got Tommy as a skipper, which he didn't have last time. I'm not sure crew wise. I think they rotate them like quite a lot. So
yeah, no idea if we're getting the Crispy Boys back at all. Then
no, I don't think. No, not this trip, unfortunately.
Don't know how much the Crispy Boys are working for ProSail anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a sort of a nice nighttime shot there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool environment. You get to know people pretty well. This is anchored up inside the islands, and this is sort of the bar where the food gets sort of put, and it's sort of like a what would you say? It's weird how that line works. I'm still not sure how it works, and I was on there for 4 days. Yeah, it's beautiful. There was some.
Oh man,
the tenders were diving off. But yeah, and this is some of the in water stuff.
Oh man, get me on that plane.
Yeah, couldn't come faster.
All right.
Yeah, beautiful clean water and just amazing pristine reef conditions, and really cool place to improve your diving and just hang out with a bunch of legends who are just as frothy about it as you are. So we took some pretty special fish last year, and like it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I hope we can do the same thing again this year, and maybe even jag some better weather.
Oh,
yeah, look at that.
Oh man, take me back. Oh, so good.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I guess that's it for the night. Unless you guys had any last questions. No. Oh, good. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. And sorry, we didn't sort of re-communicate it earlier what time the meeting was and stuff. I'm glad a bunch of you guys could show up, and I'm probably going to share this video with the rest of the crew. And again, if you have any more questions, the WhatsApp group. All good, legends.
One piece of
Look forward
advice:
to seeing you
don't shoot
soon.
Slady Brim.
No slutty room.
Somebody will shoot one.
Oh yeah.
See you guys soon.
If Beth shoots
See
a
you guys.
slutty brim on her first day out, we'll be high-fiving her.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, good, guys. Good night.
See you in
See
a
you
few
soon,
weeks.
guys.
Yeah.
Take care.